So am I audible? Hello, I hope good morning and welcome to the webinar. We are readiness. I know we are supposed to start at 11:30, but we uh, there are few people who want to join, so for them. So what we'll do is we'll wait for another 2-3 minutes and then we'll start. Thank you for joining.
What you're seeing behind me is the Jindal Waste to Energy plant. It has 2000 tons worth of capacity to handle municipal solid waste, which comes in about 400 truckloads. And what's unique about this plant is that it consumes 80% out of that and to convert it into 23 megawatts of energy. How does your waste, which is completely unsegregated, start generating so much of value? That is what we're going to see in this video today.
400 trucks carrying 1800 tons of trash moves into Jindal facility every day. After getting radioactively tested, they are weighed for the content, and in the return as well, they are weighed back so that we know exactly how much weight of waste is coming into the pits. All of this is accumulated into the pits from where the waste moves into the conveyors into a very unique separation system. This separation system has a baffle which actually moves the lighter particles towards the front, and the heavier particles they stay back and get filtered and go down to the two other conveyors. But the lighter particles, which are mostly plastics and some other dry waste, goes through a shredding process and moves into the left two conveyors. This is mostly high calorific value dry waste, which moves into conveyors into another storage pit, the RDF storage pit, from where the RDF is picked up and then loaded on to the boiler at a very high temperature and very controlled conditions, which produces no dioxins, and through a very strong filtration system for the exhaust gases producing no fumes, wheeling 23 megawatts of energy to the Delhi Electricity Board. Then there is a conveyor which is carrying the waste which is compostable, the fine waste, goes through a composting cycle of 28 days, after which it is filtered and bagged as per fertilizer standards, ready to be used. Finally, there is a conveyor which carries the very bottom inert material, the stones mostly and the construction debris, which moves out in tractors into the landfills.
This is something what we do for plastic waste retrieval and disposal, taking it away from the landfills.
Good morning, everyone. So, thank you again for joining with us on this webinar on BRSR readiness. We at Pro India are dedicated towards sustainability. The video that you just saw right now, it's one of the verticals that we work in, which is EPR, the whole extended producer responsibility, along with the other sustainability areas that we work in, such as BRSR, TCFD, and GRI. So this webinar is all about BRSR. Basically, everybody who is here today has or might have heard about this term, business responsibility and sustainability reporting. And we here are here to give you a crack of it, give you a heads up on what exactly is this term refers to, uh, what is its current status, what would be its structure in the next few years, how it's going to impact and everything. So today for this webinar, our main speaker would be Dr. Prachi Ugle, who is the sustainability specialist. She's got a 20 years experience in sustainability. You pick any term in environment, she has worked on a project on that: carbon footprinting, carbon accounting, GHG gas, scope 1, 2, 3, BRSR reporting, everything. So she would be here with us, giving her insights and providing us a very deep understanding of what BRSR is. So I would like to thank her for being here. With us, we also have Trina Mundar, who's the ESG head as Pro India. And my name is Ashish Patekar. I'm the ESG manager at Pro India. I'll be moderating this whole webinar. So once again, thank you for joining us. So let's just begin with this. So basically what we're going to deal in this whole webinar today, it's going to be a 1 hour small webinar, basically pointing at what are the important aspects and properties of BRSR that one should know before either getting into this field, or if you're someone who's in the field of sustainability and want to move ahead, what are the foundation of BRSR that you should understand or read about or research about, and or how you want to shape your work into BRSR. So these are the pointers where we'll be having a discussion today, which is what exactly is BRSR and what is this term in where does it fit in your business? What does it mean to your business? Second would be what is the scope and relevance of this reporting standard? What is the market readiness of BRSR disclosures by entities? Okay. Now, when we say BRSR reporting, it is a sustainability reporting. So there are a few principles that will be followed for BRSR reporting. So what are these principles? And then, as everybody know, BRSR came through a guideline that was given by SEBI. So what are these SEBI guidelines that has shaped the structure and paradigm of BRSR, right? And then we'll get into a deeper version of what exactly that structure, what are the parameters that are there in the BRSR report, right? Then mapping and comparability of BRSR with the other international standards and the sustainability development goals, right? And when we see other international standards, we talking briefly about the GRI and other such standards, right? Then how do this standardization and harmonization of this ESG best practice disclosures help out? Okay, in the sense that this whole BRSR reporting is being done so that your company or your organization can is pointing towards ESG best practices, right? Environmental, social governance best practices. So how does this standardization help in that ESG best practice? Then when we talk about BRSR, there are a little level of priorities like core priorities. So how to make that materiality as the core priority of BRSR reporting. Then, as I said, BRSR core, okay, there is reasonable as well as limited assurance. So whenever you're, let's just say you're engaged in BRSR reporting, there would be these two layers. It would be either BRSR reasonable or BRSR limited assurance, right? Then last, it would be, we'll be concluding through with some proper case studies, real life case studies that we have on BRSR reporting. And based on that, we'll be able to provide you with a very comprehensive understanding of what this term actually means. Okay, so let's just start with it. First of all, the foundational understanding of what BRSR is. So BRSR, as I said, business responsibility and sustainability reporting. Okay, it is one of the best practices in ESG reporting submitted by entities as per the SEBI mandate. Okay, I know there are a lot of things written in this single window, but all of these terms that are there in your screen right now are very important to understand what BRSR reporting is. Okay, what is the foundation of this reporting is. So Stock Exchange Bureau of India came out with some guidelines for the top listed companies. Okay, there is a top listed companies of 1,000 companies. So in these 1,000 companies, SEBI has provided guidelines that, okay, make your organization, make your institute, make your company more environment friendly. And one of the methods to do that would be to include ESG reporting in that. And in India, the biggest practice of ESG reporting is BRSR reporting. So how does it help in an organization that is coming out with a BRSR report? So there will be strengths, responsibility. It would provide an accountability, the due diligence and transparency. So after the whole data is collected, based on which parameters are set, the principles are put in, comparative study is done, and finally after the analysis, a BRSR report is finalized. And this final report of BRSR depicts a company's transparency, that in the layer of governance, okay, there the employees that are working there, what is the mechanism that they are, the culture that is there in the organization. When we say about accountability, like how much environmentally concerned is this organization. Let's just say the organization has done some kind of a waste management, or they have done some kind of a water management. All of that comes out through the due diligence, right? And which reinforces the accountability of the company. And finally, the responsibility. Through this report, a company actually tells people that, see, we are responsible towards the environment, towards the climate change, towards how everything is getting impacted by the weather and the climate change. This report single-handedly helps out to give those pointers. Okay, so as I said, it was this framework, the whole BRSR framework was introduced by SEBI. It is mandated as of now for top 1,000 listed companies, the market capitalization. And the reason why it is bound to 1,000 companies as of now is because these companies are big, right, as per market capitalization. So when there's a big company, there are a lot of employees, there's a lot of operations that is going on. So apart from just being environmentally friendly, this ESG, the concept of ESG enforces a best practice in the as well. So this report gives a detail about that. Okay, this company is environmentally doing these efforts in an organization beneath it itself, or in itself have some regulations that they are helping to make a efficient governance inside there, right? After all of that done, this BRSR report is basically a standardized document, right? And it is kind of like in a loop. What happens is, after the analysis, you create the BRSR report. Now through this BRSR report, it helps to mitigate internal risks and helps all the stakeholders to strengthen the organization again. Like after the final report is done, you get to know that, okay, these are the areas that have a gap. These are the areas that we have some kind of a lack that is there in the organization. So be potentially a risk later on, right? So after this report, one of these report is used as an insight for the organization itself to avoid any kind of internal risk there is, and re-strengthen themselves. And finally, obviously, in a more economic sense, after the report comes up, it gives a competitive edge to the company, whoever has conducted this BRSR reporting. Like, for example, when we talk about investors, right? After the Paris climate agreement, globally, we are seeing a shift towards environmental friendly acts and new laws that are coming up. So whenever, like in several countries, uh, environmental laws has right. So whenever an investment procedure starts up, they have an environmental feature that they are looking for as well. So a company that has completed a BRSR report, it gives an edge to that company for the investors invest in, because they give an understanding that okay, the company is environmentally friendly. If let's just say right now it is at a out in a potential 8, in the next few years it might increase it to 9, which is going to be profitable as well as environmentally friendly. Okay, so I think we have understood a broad understanding of what BRSR is, right? It's time for us to delve, understand it with a little more technical aspects to it. And for that, I'm bringing in the best person to do this, someone who's got a 20-year experience in this, Dr. Prachi Ugle. She will be taking forward this webinar here onwards. Whatever specific understanding there is on BRSR that someone needs to know. And when I say one needs to know, not just someone who's starting this career, but also someone who's in this career and wants to, add up value to their work. The next few several minutes from Dr. Prachi is going to be a very full session for you guys. So I'll stop here and I'll invite Dr. Prachi to take it forward from here.
Hello, am I audible? Thank you, Ashish, once again for the kind introduction. Like as Ashish has rightly put forth the introductory to what is BRSR basically is, I like to leap ahead. I would like to share like BRSR is a evolved platform for sustainability reporting in India, but its root were deeply enrooted from the beginning with a cusp called as BRR, the initial steerer or initiator for reporting the sustainability practices, which were earlier called as corporate social responsibility rather than the sustainability reporting, was started in 2009. So that was the evolution for business responsibility reporting, that we called it as BRR, that is business responsibility reporting. So this was much before SEBI came into picture. This National Corporate Affairs, right, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MCA, what we call it as MCA, came up with the National Voluntary Guidelines for bringing about overarching guidelines, right, for through which the businesses can report their business responsibility from the social perspective. That was the main frame of putting the initial milestones for placing corporate social responsibility in the reporting arena. Earlier, like it was prior to 2009, only sustainability was nowhere there in the business vertical for disclosures by the entities. So everything was coming down to the annual reporting, where the companies only used to report their business in terms of profit, what we call it as the annual business report, right? Annual fiscal reporting, which was the core element for reporting to the stakeholders, right? But over a period of time, Ministry of Corporate Affairs introduced this corporate business responsibility as a key term, right? Be it with regard to employee retention, human rights, due diligence, right? Whistleblower, all right, compliance, meeting the social priorities, social issues, how the companies are handling these issues, right? Competitive behavior, anti-bribery, corruption, all these issues were introduced, right, slowly. And that's how the evolution of business responsibility reporting began as per the NCA National Voluntary Guidelines, what we call it as NCG, right, National Voluntary Guidelines. And over a period of year from 2009, then the ladder moved leap to 2012-13, wherein corporate social responsibility took another viewpoint of introducing SA element in the BRR. Then that's how BRSR came in the picture in 2017. Right. Earlier, BRR was only mandated for 100 listed companies. That means only minuscule companies, listed companies, like 100 listed companies were supposed to showcase their as a stewardship towards the being a responsible business enterprise. Right. For doing that, they were reporting a BRR. But over a period of time, BRR got evolved and transitioned from BRR to a BRSR in 2017. And wherein from 100 listed companies, it moved to 150 listed, then to 250 listed, then to 500 listed companies. And as on date, right now, in 2025, we have BRSR with 1,000 listed companies, which are mandated to report through their through the BRSR platform. So BRSR is an Indian platform, basically, where these Indian businesses have their own ethos of reporting their best practices in sustainability through Indian sustainability standard best practices disclosures from the SEBI guidelines as per the overarching SEBI guidelines of BRSR. Right. So this was how I just tried to bring in a evolution, like how BRSR became from BRR to BRSR, where S stands for your ESG. E, S, and G were not there in BRR earlier. So E, S, and G became a priority for that is called as ESG. So BRSR is nothing but you are reporting your environmental, social, and governance best practices, right? So earlier it was only business as usual, but now BRSR has made ESG as beyond business as usual, wherein ESG has become a priority where planet and people are at core element along with profit. So it is about people, planet, and profit. If you nudge planet and people, automatically profit will come to your business, because how you connect with your stakeholders, how responsible you are towards your products, your goods and services that shapes the journey of your business, and that will evolve you as a sustainability steward and chart you up in the leaderboard of being a good, responsible, social, as well as governance compliant entity. So that is the need of the hour, basically. So without greenwashing, without putting over volume of ESG parameters which the entities report, companies have mainstreamed themselves. They are making themselves ready. So earlier the companies were only business ready. Now companies in India have they have leaped ahead the ladder, and they have made sustainability readiness as a priority rather than business as a priority. If you nudge your sustainability readiness of your company by mapping your material issues, right? What are your key priority indicators? What are your key priority issues? If you nudge it, your business readiness will automatically mainstream. So that's how it is. So what's the scope relevance of BRSR basically? So applicability, as I have earlier said, BRSR framework is applicable to basically 1,000 listed entities as per the SEBI regulatory guidelines. So what's the reporting area arena basically? So BRSR basically requires entities to report for their ESG parameters like GHG emissions with regard to their scope 1, scope 2, and the scope 3. Scope 1 refers to the direct emissions from the operations. Scope 2 are the emissions which are are brought from the purview of the purchases. These are the indirect emissions which the entities encompass, and the scope 3 emissions which are leaded into the company through the external sources like the suppliers, retailers, and the distributors. And then it also includes the social issues like your human rights, your employee retention, your community development, like your CSR basically, right? Due diligence, governance, transparency, and ethical best practices. Then it also includes value chain disclosure. Earlier, it was only restricted to ESG reporting. From BRR to the BRSR reporting arena only encompassed the ESG parameters of environment, of social, and the governance. E includes environment, S includes the social parameters, and G includes the due diligence, transparency, best ethical practices, right? But, however, moving ahead, the new disclosure has been inserted or embedded in the BRSR core framework that is called as value chain disclosures. So from this year, that is 2025-2026, BRSR core disclosures mandates entity to report on their ESG aspects of key priority upstream and downstream partners in the value chain. What do you mean by upstream and downstream partners? Upstream partners are your own internal operations, right? Where you are through extraction, through transportation, through distribution of raw material, right? Where you are going to extract the raw material for make of the product or a good or a service. Those are your upstream partners. In extracting that raw material, you have to partner with so many people around, right? That becomes your upstream. Your downstream partners are your end users, like the end users of the consumers, the suppliers, the distributors, the retailers. These are the downstream partners, which are the outside of the value chain, but they make an important part of the value chain journey. Without considering downstream partners in the value chain, you cannot future-proof your business from the perspective of ESG. So especially those reporting 2% of entity purchases by sale value. So by purchase by sale value of 2%, the entities are supposed to. Same is the case with the earlier thing when CSR was there, right? The companies were mandated like 2% they are supposed to. As per their net annual turnover, they are supposed to do something called as the CSR, as a corporate social responsibility. But now that has holistically evolved in shape and it has moved further, right? By considering not just as a corporate social responsibility, just making your business viable or feasible or marketly traceable by the stakeholders, but it also adds value to your company. It brings competitive edge to your peers. It makes you a best emulator. You can learn from your peers, industry peers, and emulate that best practices and make a futuristic scope for a consortium wherein all value chain partners are disclosing as per the SEBI overarching guidelines and the principles. So that is what is about your value chain disclosure, where supply chain became a key part of it, because as on date, only scope 1 on scope 2. Even now, companies are still focusing on their scope 1 and scope 2 rather than on the supply chain. Supply chain, the suppliers, the procurement shapes the important part of any reporting arena of a company. The next comes is the assurance section. So earlier from the BRR, then to the BRSR, it was only a reporting arena where companies were only reporting, but there was no proof that that particular data or the disclosure based practices are authentic, right? They are open, they are true, fair, concise, precise. That was not the case. So assurance, as on date, the entities are mandated to have the disclosures under assurance lens. They are not mandated basically. However, from 2026, 2027 come by, the companies need to partake or they will be mandated to go for assurance prior to publishing their disclosure documents. That means they need to go for their quality check, right? Their controls, right? Plan, do, check all their scope 1 emissions. They need to get it third party audited, right? They should assure that they are true in openness and fair and due diligent in compliance, meeting all the guidelines of the SEBI, and without any greenwashing, right? Without any over volumes for the entities, right? So that becomes a black mark, or it can become a red tape, or it can be a whistleblower to a company, right? And that will make a company lose the authority for being in the listed company. So in order to mitigate that risk, and to future-proof its supply chain, the assurance part will be becoming mandatory from 2026-27. So it is like a simplification tool, right? Because if you take in the case, like if you go across, like on board with the global platform, like take the case of corporate social responsibility, or corporate social due diligence disclosures by EU, if you take that case, or a GRI, or you take the case of SBTI, or you take the case of carbon disclosure projects, what they do basically, they assure their standards. That means they get it third party assured, so that there will be no future risk curtailed at the business level, as well as at the stakeholder level, or at the level of supply chain level. So in order to future proof this has become, so this is like a simplification. That's why the delays have happened. The omnibus regulation, which everyone must be aware of, that is not just to as a matter of convenience. It is not a chain of custody, what we say, like just to ease of doing business. It was done so that companies become ready to avail it, rather than overboard themselves, become confusing in their disclosures, and putting over volume of confusing standardized documents for the stakeholders to read on or to comply on. So to avoid that, basically simplification had come in, so that it will give that ease, a reliever, so that companies begin to benchmark their material issues, key performance indicators, and key performance areas, and accordingly they can mitigate their risk. So that is how even BRSR has done this assurance incorporation, or embedding that in the nexus of BRSR reporting, so that they can simplify, or they can harmonize it, or they can standardize this as a platform towards best practices to a level up, to reach the level leaderboard of being a BRSR, being a global level of standard of reporting, rather than just being a nationally volunteer guideline framework of reporting. So we need to have that international comparability to drive competitive edge. Otherwise, why a foreign investor or a foreign company will put an investment in an Indian company, right? Even with the CBAM, if you must be aware, right? With the exports, companies need to now, like from 2026, they need to pay for the embedded emissions. Now, as of now, they just need to report. Next, it is report, comply, and pay penalty for doing so. So this is how is the next generation of regulation, which might come into picture even with BRSR moving ahead. So BRSR was earlier BR, business responsibility. Now it is business responsibility and social reporting, with people, planet, and profit all together, brought in together. So that's how we are going to align it with global standards such as GRI, as I have already told, like SASB, IFRS. You have the Indian International IFRS Sustainability Board, which you have two types, S1 and S2. One is with regard to sustainability related disclosure, and the other one is with regard to climate change disclosures. That means restricted to only sustainability parameters and restricted to the climate targets or the climate goal in compliant with the Paris goals. And the other one are your ISO standard formats. So this is in tune with BRSR alignment with SDGs. You need to align it with the SDGs, the 17 overarching UN SDG goals, then to mitigate risk, then to create a long-term share value. You need to create a long-term share value. Company is, when it is set in It is not meant only to drive business or for profit. It creates long-term share value with the stakeholders, with their industry, with the communities, with the who we are the communities. We are the end users of the state of those products, and it drives consumer trust. If you are responsible, if you are business as well as sustainably responsible, you will get consumer trust. There will be more takers for the product or the good or the service. That's how the business will mainstream. So benefits of BRSR, I have already covered this. Like, it's for operational gain. It is like an innovation catalyst. So it's like a rudder. It will rudder it will steer your operations. It will give you a reputational edge, right? It will give you a reputation of being a good stakeholder, having a good community impact. It will amplify your trust among your industry peers as well as among the consumers, as well as it will also encourage your investors to get cost effective. It manage the reduction and the depreciation which happens because of lack of ESG best practices, right? Because all these are being onboarded. Your only profit is not the benchmark now. Even your E, S, and G are also under watchdog, right? They are under constant vigilance, right? Without doing that due diligence, you are not going to achieve your financial or your fiscal gain, right? So for attracting investors also, it is BRSR is a one-time suitable platform to drive the leaderboard. So what is the market readiness basically for? So as I have already told, as on date assurance, it is like currently applicable to 500 listed company assurance. Moving ahead from 2026, 1,000 listed entities will be mandated to go in for assurance. So BRSR is sector agnostic, means it is not restricted to one particular sector, like be it apparel or be it energy utilities or be it pharma or be it any fast moving consumer goods. It is not specific to one particular sector. That's why I am saying here that BRSR is sector agnostic. That means it is applicable to all sectors irrespective of size and market presence. How much, wherever your market presence is, right? Whether you are having your parent company in India or you're having a global subsidiaries abroad, right? Irrespective of that, the BRSR is a sector agnostic tool. And basically BRSR, it's like a shield for your MSMEs, right? Your micro, small, medium enterprises. It's like a shield, because MSMEs in India are the one who are reporting their businesses, right, through their annual report. They do have a CSR policy in place. They do have a process in place. They do have a procedure modality in place, but they lack in their sustainability best practices. But if MSMEs are strengthened in armor with this BRSR core, then there will be offloading MSMEs driving businesses in India way ahead. So this is how the BRSR core journey has started. Like 2023, 150 listed, then 2024 to 2025, top 250 listed, then you have 500 listed, and now 2026 to 27, you have 1,000 listed entities which are supposed to report as per BRSR core. So we are coming to what are the principles of BRSR. So there are 9 overarching basically principles of BRSR as per the national guidelines for responsible business conduct. So they are, principle 1 is like ethics, transparency, and accountability. That means the entity should be fair, transparent in its operation, and accountable for its action as well as impact. They cannot take the consumers as well as the business from where they are extracting the raw materials. They cannot take it for granted. That impact on the social governance as well as the environmental nexus also should be considered. So that is what is your principle 1. Your principle 2 is sustainability in product and services. That means company should follow the plan, do, check for the life cycle. That means you need to know how the product is extracted from the production level, from the extraction level, to the manufacturing level, then to the transportation and the distribution level, and then to the end of use level. So that is how the life cycle of a product it is. A product has a baby footing starting from the raw material extraction. That's how your product inception begins. That's the life cycle, right? That's the seeding of the product make, right? And slowly, like the end is the end of life disposal of the sold product. And then you can recover it, recycle it, refurbish it. That becomes the circularity aspect. So as on date, BRSR does not have a circularity angle in place in principle too. As on date, it is only restricting to use level, manufacturing level, use level, and transport and distribution and end of life of that product disposal level of principle. But if at all, if circularity is added, then BRSR will be on par with the global standard of report. Then principle 3 is employee well-being, right? Prioritizing the occupational health hazard, right? Employee, along with retention, employee retention, their well-being, their occupational hazard, safety, career development, training, in-house training, right? Because like entities evolve, right? Business evolve, the product, good, requirement, demand. It is demand driven, right? Consumers demand driven. Based on that, you need to upgrade your product as per the requirement of the end users, the consumers. So accordingly, there need to be a training, onboarding for the in-house as well as onboarding also, so that the employees are well aware of the market requirement, and accordingly they mainstream the products. This includes even the value chain, training your supply chain so that they will help you in mitigating your internal operation, because whatever your supply chain, it will have a direct impact on operations. That is your internal risk. It creates the internal risk. So to mitigate that operational risk, you need to also onboard your value chain. The next one is respect for your stakeholders, right? Recognizing and respecting the interest of stakeholders. That's the reason, right? That is what your responsible responsible stewardship is all about. It includes your customers, your suppliers, your communities, right? You cannot just market a product just like that. You cannot make a product just for profit, right? It is meant for people. It is meant for planet, right? It should authenticate. It should be viable. It should be feasible. It should be flexible for use, right? And for end use, right? Without any undue harm, right? There are substances which are hard to abate. That means you cannot eliminate that from the environment, right? Or from the social nexus, as well as from the communities. So that respect of stakeholderness, oneness of product, oneness of utility, all is there in the principle, overarching principle 4. Then your principle 5 is your human rights, right? Upholding the human rights across, right? Whether it is following the International Labour Organization standards, where there is no child labor, where woman integrity is upholded, there is gender equality, right? Where both men and women are equally employed. All that forms the part of your principle 5, that is human rights, without violation. Then your principle 6 is your environmental sustainability, protecting this and restoring the environment, including reducing pollution, managing waste, conserving resources. Principle 7 is your public policy advocacy, right? It is like other than your outreach or capacity building or your training, in-house training, how you engage with your policy maker, right? In a transparent, right? You make a product, you have a policy, you have a process, you have a due diligence framework in your company, right? But how it is advocated in policy making, so that your SEBI or your Ministry of Corporate Affairs will time and again evolve the policies as per the requirement of the industry, right? Because it's an evolving market, the policies also need to be engaging, right? So your job is half done only if you are only considering it for sustainability or ethical practices, principle 1 and 2. It will be complete only if you do public policy advocacy. That means you will engage with the decision makers, with your barriers and challenges which you overcome in your business, and accordingly those can be evolved or mitigated. And the next one is your inclusive growth. That means to include everyone, right? It should be fair and open, right, and equitable for community as well as for business. It is not for B2B, business to business. It is for business to communities, right? It is business to planet, right? And it is business for everyone, right? That is called as inclusive growth and equitable development, right? And the last one is your principle 9, that is your customer value. Ensuring product and services quality will enhance customer satisfaction. If I give a product which is matching with the eco label, right, which is meeting all the environmental compliance, which is meeting all the social compliances, the customer will be satisfied. There will more takers for that product. In that way, that will add to the business value. It will create long-term shared value. Then what does the SEBI guidelines for BRSR principles signify? Basically, it is flexibility for industry-specific disclosure. The guidelines recognize that not all disclosures may be relevant to every industry. Companies can explain the non-applicability of certain disclosures. See, as I have given earlier, the example of MSMEs. All MSMEs are not ready to onboard their BRSR, right? For the first time, right? Those who are the new time boarders or the new reporters who are through BRSR, they will not report as per all the 9 guidelines. They might report either 5 principles or 7 principles or 6 principles, right? That will be report, and then they will give an explanation basis. Report and comply on explanation basis, right? Explain basis. That can happen. That flexibility is there for industry-specific disclosures. Then you have clear and concise reporting, where companies are expected to provide clear, concise, and accurate information supported by relevant documentation. So you need to support your whatever documentation you do. You need to attach your annexes, right, with your employees. Whatever you are doing, you need to partake with all annex documents to support the evidences for claims, so that your assurance will be well future-proof and it will be clear, concise, true, and fair and open for any open consultation also. Comparison between BRSR and BRSR core, right? So when I have told you about the evolution from BRR, then to BRSR, then to BRSR core, scope is BRSR is a broader framework, while BRSR core is a subset focused on key KPIs, that is key performance indicators. What are the mandatory applicability criteria? So BRSR is mandatory for the top 1,000 listed companies, while BRSR core is mandatory for the top 150 listed companies and is being extended to other companies. So reporting focus is BRSR core has more focused approach on specific ESG aspect, particularly those relevant to investors and rating agencies to mitigate risk, so that they will give a score, right? They will give the weightages as based on the risk-based parameters, right? They will assign weightages to the environmental parameters, to the social parameters, as well as to the governance parameters, like whether suppose X company is scoring high in its scope inventory, right? A particular X company is rating it in its social due diligence, right? All those will be assigned weights. So all those assigned weights will be some accumulated, will be rated, and then their best practices will be assigned, right? They will be rated as per EcoVadis or your Gabi or anything through their LCA framework. That reporting platform takes a shape, right, across the global level. Then you have value chain reporting, wherein BRSR core includes reporting on the value chain respect to companies to disclose the ESG performance of their supply chain partners. As the name itself indicates, value chain reporting means supply chain partners. It includes your suppliers, retailers, and your disclosures. This is just to improve your ESG performance, your benchmarking. So this is done basically for benchmarking. Then what does the BRSR framework consist? Like reporting section will include general disclosures. Then your section B will include management and process disclosure. Section C will include principle-wise performance disclosure. Here all you will report all your 9 principles basically. So the disclosure is done basically in 2 as per the NCV guidelines, NGC guidelines, that is National Corporate Guidelines. You will have qualitative data disclosures as well as quantitative data disclosure. That means your qualitative information as well as the quantitative. Your GHG emissions, employee data, all those comes under the quantitative, where they are coming in the numerical form, right? Qualitative data is your due diligence, transparency, anti-bribery, your like occupational hazard, right? How many fatalities were there? How many mortalities were happening during that particular, right? How much is the injury index level, right? That comes under the quality, under the criteria of quantitative data disclosure of a particular X company when they are doing the disclosure as per the comply basis. Then your indicator sections, when you are reporting, you need to report as per 2 indicators. One are the essential indicators, that is the compulsory or the mandatory indicators. How many indicators are there? There are 98 questions which basically companies have to onboard, reply. They need to reply as well as comply. Whereas the leadership indicators are voluntary, that means they are not mandatory. So there are total 42 questions as on date which the companies need to report on a voluntary basis. So basically the annual report as per the MCA portal, that is Ministry of Corporate Affairs portal, includes 2 types. One is comprehensive. This is meant for large and listed entities which already are reporting, which everyone is aware of. And the other one is the lighter version, which we call it as Brsr Light. So Brsr Light is basically for companies new to reporting. That means you can take the case of MSMEs, those who are new. So they'll come to the particular advisory or a consultancy or any reporting service provider, say we are the new timers, we don't have a Brsr reporting, make us ready. So what you will do, you will collect the data of their environment, social, governance, and you make them their KPI ready. You will prepare their key performance indicator, you will map their materiality and you give it to them. And then slowly they will strategically start to collect the data as per the requirement of SEBI guidelines. And the next year, once they do their materiality and then they assess, they do their plan, do check for their key performance area and indicators, then they onboard it for the Brsr reporting from the next consecutive year. That's how Brsr Light is onboarded into the reporting arena. This is what is your format. One is your disclosure and the other one is the format or the structure basically of reporting, the disclosures. So what does the Brsr reporting format include? It includes data gathering and analysis. So you need to collect all the data as per all the environmental, social and governance parameters like energy, GHG data, waste generation, employee diversity, inclusion, human rights, community engagement, everything needs to be collected accordingly. Then data quality assurance you need to, it should be seamless, it should be robust, it should be timely, it should be accurate, it should be complete. Not half, right? It should be overall, give the holistic picture of the entire data set collected to maintain data integrity and to provide a true and fair report. Then the second one is assessing and reporting, where you do performance assessment, you prepare the Brsr report, then you go in for third party external assurance and certification, and then you submit the report to the SEBI. Then SEBI in its portal displays all that Brsr code reporting platform for the stakeholders. So that's how business is driven, or the business gets the traceability in the market. And the entity on its part reports the same in the website as a Brsr report, right? So you can download that report or you can visualize through the visual infographic. You can check through the Brsr report for driving your business traceability. Basically, it is meant for stakeholder connect engagement, to drive business traceability, right? To drive competitive edge, right? Business is a competitive, evolving environment, right? You need to always be abreast with what the other industry from your own internal companies within apparel to apparel, right? A company differs in size. So accordingly, those leader hedges can be notched up. So for all these, this assessing and reporting is done. And then you have the implementation and continuous improvement. This is done for setting the targets, for implementing sustainability initiatives. Then you monitor and evaluate, because it's an evolving environment. You need to always monitor. So what you measure it, you will manage it. And for doing so, you need to monitor, evaluate your performance, and accordingly drive your business by engaging with your stakeholders. So entity's Brsr report is to be included in company's annual report that is filed with SEBI. This is what is the timeline of reporting as per the SEBI guideline. So every year, annually, along with your annual report, you need to submit your Brsr. Then the level of assurance is reasonable as well as limited assurance. So reasonable assurance is more rigorous and elaborate. That means it will do quality check, going to field visit, going to the factory level, entity business level, to their subsidies, getting their all quality control points checked, right? And their modalities, how they are working, going in for their level of scrutiny, evidences, non-conformity. So this is a very elaborate and rigorous. So this is like tedious, cumbersome, but it is very timely, very robust, and at the same time it is in compliant, so that there will be no non-conformity or non-compliance on account of the particular X company. Limited assurance, as the name itself indicates, it is limited in scope and process. That means a limited material issues. Company will not map all its material. It will only map key material issues, and slowly it will strategically onboard the material issues as the company grows. Right. So based on that, their key performance indicators as well as the material issues, they will upgrade. This year, annual year, they reported only 10 particular material issues which are material to them. Next year, they'll onboard another 5. So that's how they will upstream and mainstream their downgraded as well as upstream level of reporting arena. So changes are like from value chain from 2025, companies need to report both, and then assurance they need to go in for phased approach. That means implementation of assurance and assessment for value chain disclosures will be phased in, with full implementation expected from 2026-2027. So it is a phased-in approach. As the way in EU, there is a simplification which is going in phase-in approach for onboarding. Similarly, over here, there is a phase-in approach for going in for implementing in a full stream for maximizing the implementation of assurance. Then your value chain partner additions are, value chain partners are identified as representing 2% or more of company's purchase. So that means to disclose information for partners representing at least 70%. So they need to at least represent 75% of their purchases and sales. As per that value, they need to report their partner identification credentials. So this is like a credentiality check. This is a credentiality check or a credential check for a BRSR core for the companies. So a mapping and comparability. So BRSR core is as on date being mapped with GRI. It is mapped with CDP. It is mapped with TCFD. It is mapped with integrated reporting. It is mapped with UN SDG goals. Then how to standardize? So ESG harmonization seeks to standardize how the ESG pillars are measured. Basically, standardization involves three common elements which any entity needs to look into: common metrics and the consistent reporting framework and the independent assurance. Common metrics is defining the set of core metrics and then encouraging the use of standard frameworks, and independent assurance is ensuring that the data is independently audited to increase its reliability and credibility. So these are the benefits, right? Comparability, reporting burden reducing, greater credibility, and the examples of ESG harmonization are the global reporting initiative and the sustainability accounting standard board collaboration with BRSR. These are the ESG harmonization market players. Where you have the role and the influence, like you have government, you have standard setters, you have companies, you have investors, you have NGOs. NGOs role is advocating for ESG, monitoring their corporate behavior. NGOs will do what? They will check whether the CSR is having an impact. Whatever the impact, whatever the business is doing CSR, whether that is really having an impact on the community, that will be checked by the NGOs. So every level you have a market player to drive your ESG standardization and harmonization. So basically it's a virtuous cycle. That means it is virtue driven. It is purpose driven as well as it is virtue. It is not just practice driven or policy or process driven, but it is virtue driven. So BRSR is a practice. It is a purpose driven, not a policy driven nexus. Basically it is two-tiered system wherein both the things are ESG demands as well as struggles are assessed. Greenwashing is avoided, and then your unintended consequences of stakeholders losing the credibility, reliability, red tape, whistleblowers, all these gets mitigated. So these are the potential outcomes from your ESG harmonization. So this I already have told how to make materiality as a core priority. Beyond compliance attribute, it is a core business integration, data-driven prioritization. These are all how you implement, integrate, and embedded BRSR core with materiality as a key priority. Then your semis, as I have already told, MSME market readiness is assess your current state. That means MSME need to understand its existing environmental social practices, identify the relevant data which they are having, implement data collection, educate the team, engage with the client, and prepare their BRSR core. This is how you are going to make your MSME ready for BRSR core compliance reporting. Then this is how you will report your BRSR with compare your BRSR with GRI, where you have your mandate, your scope, your focus, structure, assurance, target. Who are your targets, right? Whether they are regulators, or your consumers. Accordingly, your metrics are defined. So basically, the role of ESG is BRSR is also overarchingly aligned with the UN SDG goals, where you have your E part, where you have your S part and your G part, right? Your 7, your goal 6, your goal 11, your goal 13, goal 14, goal 13 falls under the category of environment. Then your no poverty, no hunger, right? Good health and well-being, quality education, decent employment, that falls under the nexus of social, right? Your governance is partnership for goals, right? Responsible consumption, gender equality, right? Innovation, reduce inequalities, peace, justice, and institutions, right? To reduce anti-bribery, corruption, all that falls under the category of G. So in that way, your ESG or your BRSR reporting is aligning with the UN SDG goals. So to conclude with my thing, BRSR is like a market traceability platform to gain competitive edge, and so companies need to benchmark it with the best practices on par with the international standards. So if it is an Indian company, an Indian standard, an Indian company reporting with the Indian standards. So this is how an Indian sustainability standard should evolve in future, with circularity, environment, social governance being prioritized at equal level, right? It should be equality and equity both together. So this is what is planet, people, and profit for BRSR altogether. Now over to Trina now, who will share the best part of the webinar to close with the case studies.
Thank you, Dr. Prachi. That was a very informative session that you took. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I think I was on mute. So, so second. Yeah, okay. So, first of all, thank you, Dr. Prachi. That was a very informative session that you took. Like, in a matter of just 40-45 minutes, we literally delve into the technicalities of what BRSR is. So, someone who's entering into this field would have found it a very useful session. Like, you started with the materiality understanding, and you ended up with how it is impacting even the small scale industries. So that was a very, the whole pathway was very good. So we can move on to the next very quickly session, which is Trina Mondal will be taking few case studies very quickly, 5-10 minutes, and after that we could end this webinar. Okay, so I'll request Trina to take over from here and discuss about the case studies that have been prepared for the attendees. Yeah.
Thank you, Ashish. Am I audible? Thank you, Ashish. Am I audible? Yeah. So it was indeed a very detailed session. I will start about just Okay, so as many of you know, SEBI has made BRSR reporting mandatory for the top 1,000 listed companies, but the real opportunity lies beyond compliance. Even companies that are not listed or not yet in the top 1,000, they also can benefit from ESG and BRSR reporting. Why? Well, because ESG disclosures are no longer just a regulatory requirement. They are now business essentials. Investors, bank, global buyers, and even customers want transparent, reliable data on a company's environmental, social, and governance performance. So I will walk you quickly through 10 case studies of leading Indian companies. Each one faced unique challenges before reporting, and each unlocked significant benefits through PRSR and ESG disclosures. So let's go. So yeah, so yeah, Tata Steel. So it is one of the India's largest steel makers. They face pressure from investors and regulators due to its high carbon intensity. Data was scattered across plants. So after adopting BRSR with core assurance, they standardized reporting on emission, safety, and governance. And this not only showed a 10% drop in emission year on year, but also built investor trust and strengthened board oversight. Ultratech Cement. As Ultratech Cement, it is a highly emissions intensive industry player. They struggled with consistent report across its many plants. So through BRS, they have unified disclosure on energy, water, and safety, and this has helped them identify efficiency gaps, which leading to 8% energy savings in just 1 year, while also improving their credibility with vendors and rating agencies. Hindustan has a vast product portfolio and a complex supply chain, making it difficult to consolidate sustainability performance. So BRSR reporting allow them to align targets like plastic neutrality and water stewardship with their financial results. So now investors and stakeholders can track progress more easily, making Unilever's sustainability story more transparent. Now, let's see Infosys. So Infosys operates campuses worldwide with different data. They needed a unique approach to ESG disclosure. So what BRSR gave them? BRSR gave them a single framework to consolidate energy, carbon, and diversity data. This improved internal monitoring and reassured global clients that Infosys is serious about sustainability. Wipro. So Wipro also faced challenges in aligning older GI-based reports with SEBI's requirements. Their standalone BRSR standardized ESG metrics and governance disclosures. So this not only improved transparency but also strengthened their position in IT sector ESG benchmarks. Tata Consumer Products. So, about Tata Consumer Products, it was hard to report across both domestic and international operations. So, through BLSR with third-party assurance, they ensured a consistent disclosures on key ESG issues like packaging and food safety, and this has increased investor confidence and opened opportunity for ESG-aligned finance. Now, Godrej Consumer Products. So, Godrej Consumer Products Limited was growing fast but lacked standardized ESG tracking. Their BRSR, backed with assurance, gave credibility to their sustainability claims. As a result, they gained better stakeholder trust and improved their ESG ratings, making them more attractive to investor and customer. Marico had multiple level sustainability initiatives, but needed consistency. Through BRSR, with reasonable assurance, they consolidate disclosures on energy, packaging, and workforce. This improved transparency, boosted investor confidence, and make internal accountability stronger. Tata Power. Tata Power had a mixed portfolio of thermal and renewable energy. So with the fragmented reporting across subsidiaries. So what Brsr does for them, their Brsr consolidated everything into one credible disclosure. With assurance, it helped attract green finance and reassured customers about their renewable transition strategy. Axis Bank. So Axis Bank needed to show how they manage ESG risk in lending and operations. With BRSR plus independent assurance and an ESG data book, they standardized disclosures on governance and client protection. This strengthened investor confidence and helped integrate ESG into their credit models, making them more resilient. So all these examples shows companies across sectors from steel to IT to banking face different challenges before adopting BRSR reporting, fragmented data, a lack of standardization, low investor trust. So with BRSR and assurance, they not only improve transparency but also unlock real benefits like energy saving, green financing, and stronger ESG ratings and better stakeholder confidence. So this shows why even companies outside SEBI's top 1,000 should consider adopting BRSR Lite, Core, and Assurance because the business advantages go far beyond compliance. Now Ashish will go after this.
Yeah, thank you, Trina. I think those case studies were actually good, and we got a internal insight on like a big company how can they use BRSR and move towards sustainability. So anyway, we are at the end of this webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us. Now, Pro India has been dedicated towards working towards sustainability for the past 7 years now. How can we help you? It's very simple. We have several courses that we are yeah, I think there's some problem. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, so Pro India provides few courses, which is ESG executive course, which is as of running right now, and we'll soon be starting the new batch probably in the next month. We have a detailed discussion about EcoVadis. We have our courses on green building courses. Then EPD is one of our master classes that we have for environmental product declaration, and for TCFD, again, is something that we are going to start in the next few weeks. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you for the next webinar. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Prachi. Thank you, Trina. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish.